Welcome to the Sports Circus, live from the AMP.TV studios here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you in part by Legal Shield, providing legal protection and peace of mind. Legal Shield can help with traffic tickets, texting and driving, DUIs, court appearances, estate planning, even contracts given to people they don't understand, plus a whole lot more. For more information, contact Legal Shield at 213-245-1305. That's 213-245-1305. Or visit them for more information online at nocourt.us. And a big welcome to everybody listening in on Magic 97.9 FM right here in fabulous Las Vegas, as well as our friends down in Southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle on Talk 1490 WIRB. And a big hello to everybody on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. And those watching, of course, here on AMP TV, AAMP.TV, and Hotel Television. Here with a very special guest. Here I'm in the mobile AMP.TV studios right here, parked right out in front of the Flamingo. I got to tell you, the scenery is incredible. For everybody watching at home, you can absolutely see what I'm talking about. And our special guest, we're going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, yeah, it's Vince Van Patton from the World Poker Tour, among other things, and happy to be here.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Hey, I could go on, but...
What's cool, what's cool is here we're in Vegas, and of course, you being the host for the World Poker Tour, you've been on there for a long time. Been watching you for a long time on there, and it's sort of a ritual. You have to watch the World Poker Tour every day on television. There's really nothing you could do about it. It's something because we really like to watch it. And you know what, Vince? It sort of gave a different perspective for gamblers out there and for people interested in playing poker and playing cards and so forth. But look, poker is one part of your background, but you used to be a hell of a tennis player as well, weren't you?
Well, thank you. Yeah. I was top 25 in the world in tennis. I played on the circuit for 10 years. I was the Rookie of the Year for the Association of Tennis Professionals. So I had a great career. I beat John McEnroe a couple of times. But that's all behind me now, and I went back after all that was over. I was an actor before that. I was an actor. And then I played tennis for 10 years. Then I came back to Hollywood and started writing and doing things and playing a lot of poker. Had a big, big game that got bigger and bigger and funner. And then over the years, then I finally got this gig for the World Poker Tour 18 years ago.
Wow.
So myself and Mike Sexton started that out. It's still going strong. In fact, we're going to be at Sports Arena in 3 weeks to film about 3 or 4 shows. I'm loving it. I do a lot of traveling, so everything is good. Oh, I made a movie called 7 Days to Vegas, which is about my rise and fall of my poker game. It's a comedy. And that just came out a few months ago, and now it's on iTunes and Amazon and Spectrum. You can buy it anywhere and rent it, and it's a terrific film. I'm very proud of it. And that tells a little bit about the game, that poker game that I had. That wasn't about the poker. It's about the guys that I made bets with, crazy prop bets. And one of the craziest prop bets I ever made, I know this is a long story, but was that I could bet for a lot of money. I could walk from L.A. to Las Vegas in 7 days. And they all came along to see me fail. Yeah, it's a true, it's based on that true story. A lot of it's fictionalized as well. But the film is great and a lot of good people in it. And that's what I'm doing with my life right now.
That's great stuff. So now you learned a little bit about poker from your dad, didn't you?
Yeah. Dick Van Patton, he was from Eight is Enough and among other things, And he was not just a poker player, but a degenerate gambler. He acted so that he could gamble. He acted so he could play tennis in the morning, jump in the ice cold pool, go to the racetrack, Santa Anita in the afternoon, and then play poker at night. That was his ideal day. He was a great role model, believe it or not, because he said, life's too short, enjoy what you do, just have fun. Get out there and do sports, and he loved it. And he said one of the spices of life is to bet on sports, nothing crazy, don't get carried away. Now, he got a little carried away at the racetrack, he lost a lot at the track. But other things like poker, he always did very well. He was an old school player, 7-card stud, 5-card stud. And so he taught me, my father taught me how to play poker at age 12, and I was watching his game. He had 3 games a week in the kitchen back in the 70s in San Francisco. And I watched his game because I was fascinated by poker. And when I was 15, he finally said, look, you're good enough. He goes, you can play in the game. I said, really? And this is with adults, real Don Adams, actors like Don Adams from Get Smart and Dyke and these people. And it was a game you can win or lose $500 to $1,000. So, but I was good. I was very good. I read a book on it. I studied it. And so, I was playing with my father in the house poker game for years. So that's how that evolved. But anyway, he was a great guy and a great lover of life. And I miss him. He passed away about 4 years ago. But always thinking about him.
Yeah, I tell you, it's funny. I have a very similar story with my father, and we didn't go camping when I was a kid or anything like that. No, my dad took me to the track. I learned how to read the racing form when I was 10 years old.
Love it.
Oh yeah,
and my father too. He once took us up to a vacation to Yosemite, and but we rushed out of there within 24 hours so he can get to Bay Meadows racetrack, so we could all go to the racetrack. It was like that's the thing with horse players especially. I mean, they just lived to go to the racetrack. Del Mar, Bay Meadows, Santa Anita, Hollywood Park. I mean, it was his life. He just loved it. So you had that same experience, huh?
Yeah, Vince, I grew up going to Arlington Park. Folks, we're here with Vince Van Patten. Funny guy here. World Poker Tour writer, producer, actor. He's pretty much done it all. He's even walked from L.A. to Vegas and on and on. But I got to tell you, growing up at the track, learning how to read the racing form at 10 years old, learning splits, furlong splits when you're 11 and bloodlines when you're 12, it's just one of those things where I had so much more knowledge than everybody else that I grew up with. And on top of it, I'm sure you had seen the football cards and whatnot when you were a kid. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. But you talk about handicapping, and my father taught me the same things. I knew everything about handicapping. And by the way, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to study that racing form and understand horses. And it's a funny thing because my father said he has a system. And he goes, I can't teach you until you get, till you're 13. I'm going to tell you the system. And he believed that a horse that was coming from far behind, like in a mile race, and it didn't quite get there, he came third, but he made a big close, that he would close a lot faster and then this time win if they dropped into a 7 furlong race or a 6 furlong. That was our system. Take a horse that was coming at the end in a longer race and do completely opposite of what people expect. People think, if he goes longer, he'll do better. But the system was, and I shouldn't be repeating this because he said never tell the system, but I'm telling the world. But he thought because the fractions are faster, the horses up front are going to quit worse, and that horse that came from behind, that came out of that longer distance, would do better. And you know what? He was right. And when we would hit a horse a long shot with the system, we would be jumping up and down. We'd be going, yes, the system worked, the system worked. There was nothing like it. And it makes me sad because, today in the United States, racing is not the same, and it should be, but people just don't go to the track. They don't understand it. And that's because they don't know how to handicap, mostly. You get a program, and you're out there, you want to have fun, and it's 30 minutes between races, and you don't know quite what to do with yourself. But if you were handicapping, you'd work 45 minutes. So we understood that. So if you understand handicapping, you would love the races. And by the way, I know it's doing well in a few tracks, Del Mar and Saratoga, of course. But in the U.S., it's dropped down a lot, which is a shame. You go to Europe, it's still big as ever. They love it still. They get big crowds in Europe, which is interesting.
Well, Vince, learning how to read not only the form, but also learning how to read the tote board. That's half the battle. A lot of people don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. What does that mean, learning how to read the tote board to you?
Oh, I love the tote board. You're looking up there, and you're seeing right in front of you the odds on every horse. So let's say there's 12 horses in the race, and the most exciting thing in the world is when your horse, you bet him at 4-1, and then 2 minutes later you see you got 9-1. He's going up, no one's putting action on him. You go, wait, now I'm getting more value. I'm getting more than double my money, or vice versa. You bet a horse at 5-1 with 2 minutes to go, right? You bet $50, and all of a sudden that horse goes down from 5-1 down to 2-1, and that's the late money, and that's usually the smart money. And it's fascinating. The tote board was absolutely fascinating because as a horse, we're always looking for value. So you read that tote board to say, I don't want to bet a 2-1 shot if he really should be 4-1. But if in my mind, if I got a 3-1 shot and I'm getting 7-1, that's a huge overlay, and that's when you would push it.
Right. And folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, really what it is, when you go and go to the racetrack, you see the track, and then behind the track, you'll see this really big electronic board. Typically, it'll show the odds for every horse, and also it'll show the betting pool, how much money has gone on the win, place, and show, first, second, and third for the horse as well. And so you can tell a lot by the race, especially if it's a claiming race. That's another discussion for another time, if it's a claiming race. But you can tell a lot by the race what's going to happen if you look at the money flow. And I'll tell you in the next segment, I want to talk a little bit more about sports betting, because we're already there, and that's kind of what I've done my whole life anyway. So, Vince, let's do a little sports betting in the next segment. You know why? Just because we can. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. I could talk all day about sports betting.
All right, folks, we're going to be back here with Vince Van Patten. And Vince, a very interesting guy, World Poker Tour. He is an actor. He was a tennis player, a very, very good one. And by the way, also has a film out as well. And folks, we're going to talk a little bit more about that film in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.
Do you have any questions about legal issues? Have you ever been stopped by a police officer and issued a ticket that you're scared to deal with? Have you ever been in trouble with the law and don't know what to do? Do you have a will or power of attorney question? Is your home being foreclosed upon and you don't know where to turn? Maybe you were given a contract that you don't understand. For freedom and a worry-free solution, call for Legal Shield today at 213-245-1305. It's that simple. You will have access to high-quality law firms that will fight for you for less than $1 a day. Peace of mind is just a call away. That's for Legal Shield. Call 213-245-1305 or visit us at nocourt.us. It's justice for all and not justice for some. Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. The American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away. This is Sal Tuzzolino, host and ringmaster of the Sports Circus. Why listen to the same old dog and pony show that you've heard all day long? The Sports Circus covers everything that other shows don't or are too scared to cover. There's no primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the mouth and you'll beg for more. You can call in and participate with our chaos if you dare. Join me and celebrity guests for Havoc and Mayhem weekdays at 5 p.m. Pacific here on AMP TV or stream the show live at thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day. So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Hey everybody, this is Barry Katz from the Industry Standard Podcast, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from the mobile amp.tv studios here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's AAMP.tv. This segment brought to you in part by Cali Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Cali Vegas can help them with getting out of traffic, sitting in hours of traffic every day, kind of like they're doing right now, and host their very own talk show in their very own studio. For more information, contact Cali Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or visit them for more information at calivegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. And welcome back to everybody listening in on Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Hotel Television from coast to coast of the top 25 markets across America, and, of course, those on AmpTV, AAMP.tv. Here with special guest and our co-pilot for today, Vince Van Patton. And Vince, host of the World Poker Tour. Let's focus on that for just a moment. We're going to get into your film work and your tennis work and betting on sports. I want to get into the poker for just a second here. Now, hosting the show and being a poker player, now I've watched countless episodes of the World Poker Tour, and I love the color commentary that came from your side. Tell me, as a poker player on TV versus playing maybe at the World Series of Poker at the Binions or whatnot, what is the difference of having the hot lights of the camera on you and being off camera as a player?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that most players just shake it off. Anybody that gets through a tournament when there's hundreds to thousands of players, once you get down to that final table of 6 on the World Poker Tour, you got confidence. You just believe in yourself. You don't care now all of a sudden. Now, that's the greatest thing about poker is everybody thinks they're the best player in the world. And you know what? You can be. All you need is a little luck that day. There's so much parity in poker today. Everybody knows what they're doing. And so different styles, maybe this one guy has a little edge, a 5% edge, maybe. But then again, at that final table, that's not much because it comes down to, are you going to get the cards? Are things going to go that way? There's luck in poker. So you hit that final table. I don't care if the lights are on you and the TV cameras. Most players are confident and they don't choke. They play their game, more or less, in my opinion.
Okay, so yeah, I would agree. You've got to have the cards. I mean, look, bluffing at the final table may happen once in a while, but at the end of the day, buddy, you got to have the cards. You don't have the cards, man, you're going to be in a world of trouble, right or wrong.
It is right. But I'm more of a cash player. I love to play big cash games my whole life, and I've done very well with that. And I like tournaments, but tournaments to me, you got to be there 3, 4, 5 days. It's just not my style as much. But the players that's the great thing about poker. Why it's the greatest game in the world, and why everybody plays, is because you don't have to have the best cards to win. The element of the bluff is such a beautiful thing. It's such a psychological thing. And if you can pull that off, there's no one better. You think you are God for that day. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than pulling off a big bluff. And yes, there are certain players that can pull the trigger and do that. And what I think a great player is, and a talented player, is that the great ones can almost play every hand. It doesn't matter. Yes, they're going to give away, they're going to swap away a little money, but basically they're going to find spots in the middle of these hands that they're going to take a big pot away. So they're always looking for situations. When you're just a pretty good player, now you're going to be very selective because you don't have the talent to know exactly where you are throughout that hand being played. So the great players get to play more hands, and that's exciting, and that's why at the very end of the day, if you played 1,000 tournaments, the great players would win most of the money. Now, when you play only during 1 year and there's 30 tournaments, it's coin tossing. Okay, there's a lot of luck involved.
Okay, so let's go back to that. So now you're sitting at the final table. How much pressure does the audience and does the camera put on the player? And I know from being in the professional sporting world, I understand what that looks like, but I'm just saying, as far as a player in the final table, how much percentage of your decision making, if any, is based on, hey, look, maybe, oh crap, I don't want to do the wrong thing because I've got a million people watching me on TV. Maybe you would make one decision off camera versus another. How many players, just in your estimation, from a percentage standpoint, would you say 1%, 5%, 2%?
I think the player, here's the thing, for the first hour, if you're kind of short-stacked at that final table, yes, these guys don't want to be the first one out. They'll be a little embarrassed. Right. They want to get some TV time. They want to play 20 hands at the minimum. So, therefore, you're not going to quite play the same way as you would if no one was watching. So, there you go. But after that first hour is over, I think everybody just plays their game. Now they're all relaxed, and they're going to play the cards.
Right. And that's what I was going after, because it's kind of like, after the first or second inning on the baseball diamond, all right, the crowd is there, whatever. It's not a big deal. You can hear them, and if you really want, you can yell back at them. I was the guy that would yell back at the crowd because I could. But at the end of the day, look, it's just business as usual. You go about what you do, and that's really what I was getting at, Vince. And folks, by the way, we're here with Vince Van Patton, an expert poker player, host of the World Poker Tour on television, and a filmmaker, and a fantastic tennis player, and he loves to gamble on stuff. But we're talking little poker right now, because I say stuff because that can cover a whole lot of area. But Vince, back to the World Poker Tour. Now, there are players that are obviously fan favorites and so forth, but you as a host for the show, did you kind of have a couple of guys that you really would like to see in there? Maybe a couple, maybe men or women that you didn't like to see in there because they weren't really good for the ratings or good for the audience or the interaction?
Yeah, I won't mention names of the ones that
names.
It could be a little dull, so you're going, okay, I hope Will the Thrill Fiella gets in there, or Helmuth, because these guys do make it very exciting. They're easy to do commentary for. But I'm always rooting for my buddy Mike Sexton, who's a great guy. He's made a few final tables, and he won a WPT event. That was fun when he won. And then you got your Doyle Brunson, who won an event on the World Poker Tour. And now we have Tony Dunst, who's my co-host. He's a great guy, and he's a terrific tournament player, and he's doing well, so I'm rooting for him too. But generally speaking, you want some characters out there. They do make the game a little more fun, it seems like.
Now, on the final table with the final two players, when they bring out all that pile of cash, all right, and for the listening and viewing audience, do the players that win, could they just literally walk right out the door with a pile of cash, that pile of cash, if they could jam it in their duffel bag or whatever they've got?
I don't think they give them the cash. I think they have to go to the cage, and they get paid off there. Yes, that's what they do. It's all over. We do all the pictures and all that, but you got to go to the cage, and you tell your name, and then you'll have all your sycophant friends that want to get some freebies behind you, and it's usually a party of 20, and they get their money, then they go to the bar, and then they blow it at the bar a little bit, and they have a great time.
Okay. So now imagine you getting a pile of cash in front of you. I don't know, a couple, $3 million, maybe more, 70 million. I don't know, whatever the numbers are, some crazy amount. Wouldn't you want to just win and run out the door with it because you just won? I mean, technically, you'd want to take that big pile of cash and go put it in a safe place. But how many of those people, Sonar, do you think actually would take that pile of cash and put it in their mattress?
Well, it depends on how many people also want to be mugged on their way out. I mean, you were just on security. You were just filmed winning. Like, people know your face, they know your voice. Heck, everybody who watched the whole thing knew how you bet. And now they're going to know exactly when you walk out and how much money's in your pocket or your duffel bag or your briefcase.
Back in 2004, when we had our game in Beverly Hills and everything, Ben Affleck was playing all the time, and he's a terrific player, and he loved the game. And he went down to, I think it was the Bike Casino or the Commerce, and he played the California State Championship. We didn't know, He was supposed to play that night with us. And he comes in that night around 9. He goes, hey, guys, I'm sorry I'm a little late. I just won the California State Championship. I'm the California State Champion. We go, what? And he goes, here. And he takes out a brown paper bag, and in it was about $150,000 in cash, and he throws it on the table all excited. That's a true story. So there you go. Back in the day, guys took a paper bag and they walked out of there.
So, Vince, let me ask you, did you offer to place a bet with him and say, hey, look, I could use that $150K. Maybe I'll make a crazy bet with you?
Well, I didn't make any prop bets with Ben, but in our game, there was a rotisserie of 30, 40 players, and they all were fun guys. And we would bet anything, basketball bets from half court. I would throw a half court shot in from half court, 10 shots to get 10 throws to do it, and make bets like that, or pitch coins up for $100, and we'd make all kinds of crazy bets, and then I made the craziest bet ever, that I could walk from LA to Las Vegas in 7 days, and that is based on that's actually a true story. And we made the movie. We made my movie called 7 Days to Vegas, which is out now. You can get it on iTunes and Amazon and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that there are prop bets. Gamblers love to make prop bets, crazy bets, and it's just a little spice of life that I think we enjoy.
That it is. All right, Vince, when we come back, folks, we're going to go to break here in just a couple of minutes. Actually, we're going to go right now. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about 7 Days to Vegas. That's a film that, Vince, you put this together, and I want to hear all about it. Well, as much as you can tell without spoiling the whole plot. But I want to hear some of the details on it, because just the trailer alone is absolutely hilarious. Folks, we're going to be back here with Vince Van Patton, actor, supersonic tennis player, fantastic poker player, and host of the World Poker Tour. Back here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford.
Really?
He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
Yeah, this is Sidney Justin from The Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Did you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? And that was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
I thought it was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play, but in the game I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes. Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from the AMP.TV mobile studios here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's AAMP.TV. An important message for consumers, business owners, and managers for information on the best high-speed internet, satellite TV, cell phone service, identity protection, home and business security and automation, credit card processing, plus savings on electricity and gas bills. Contact 702-799-9935. That's for information on smart savings for homes and businesses. Contact 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or learn more at safelyspend.com. That's safelyspend.com. And welcome back to everybody listening in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, as well as Magic 97.9 FM right here in Las Vegas. And a big welcome to those watching on Hotel Television and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Back here with Vince Van Patton. Vince, an actor, a tennis player, a really good one, by the way, beat McEnroe a couple of times. Also, host of the World Poker Tour. I want to know more about your filmmaking, and I want to know more about 7 Days to Vegas. Can you give us a brief synopsis of it?
Yes, thank you. 7 Days to Vegas. It's a comedy. It's about. It's based on my home game that I had for 15 years in L.A. that got bigger and bigger, and very fun. But it wasn't about the poker in that game. It was about the players and the prop bets we would make. And one of the craziest bets that we ever made was that I could walk from L.A. to Las Vegas, 280 miles, in 7 days for a big amount of money. And that's what the movie's about, and they all come to see me fail, and it's out on iTunes and Amazon and everywhere now. You can stream it, you can get it, and I'm proud of it because I always wanted to make. I love the genre of gambling movies, and I think a lot of them miss the mark because they're not done by directors or writers that are true gamblers. And I pride myself. I know I am. I'm a true degenerate gambler, and I know a lot about gambling. And I said, if I get to make a movie, I want to make it special and I make it real. No holes. You can't look at 7 Days to Vegas, even though it's a comedy, and say, "Oh, that would never happen." All these things could happen, and film did. It's fictionalized as well, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep people. Most of the time you see a movie about gambling, and it's the thing, oh, is he going to make the big game? It's very dramatic, and there's always the mafia coming in, and sort of typical cliches, and it's the dark and seamy side of that world, and I know a different world of the gambling world, and I know that it can be a lot of fun, a lot of joy, a lot of crazy bets, a lot of ups and downs, and I wanted to show that, and that's what 7 Days to Vegas is really about, and it's doing terrifically well, and it came out in theaters, and now it's everywhere in the streaming world, so try to rent it. If you're listening to this, I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, you know what's funny? There was always like a gold standard for certain types of movies. I mean, The Godfather for the La Cosa Nostra, for those kind of films, and for Vegas, it's the casino movie, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what's cool from the gambling side of things? So you'll probably be able to relate to this one. I think the funniest gambling film I've ever seen prior to watching 7 Days to Vegas was the movie Let It Ride. With Richard Dreyfuss.
Let It Ride. That's a fun movie that they show. That's a lot like 7 Days to Vegas, but 7 Days to Vegas could really happen and is more real. But that was a fun movie, and I'll give it to you there, because it showed the action and these people were alive. You wanted to go into that world instead of run away from it, and that's what I wanted to do with 7 Days to Vegas. I want people to say, "Oh my God, that world looks pretty exciting. Those guys, they look a little dangerous, but it's fun," and that's what 7 Days to Vegas is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the idea that I know Let It Ride is kind of the standard degenerate gambler story where you're like, oh, come on already. Just take the money and go home instead of, keep letting it go. And it's like, let's keep doubling down on things, right? And, eventually you're going to lose. It is what it is.
Yeah, right? But listen, did you ever see California Split? Robert Owen directed that back in the day in the 70s, Elliot Gould, George Siegel. And that was a terrific film on gambling. And it was about a couple gamblers that go down to Gardena and bet on anything. And that was really well done. And it was written by a guy, Joey Walsh, a friend of my father's, and he was the real thing, and he wrote that screenplay, and that's why I think it turned out so good. So that, in my opinion, that's the best gambling picture, and hopefully 7 Days to Vegas is right there with it.
Well, you know what I like about 7 Days to Vegas? I mean, look, it's a heavy dose of reality, but it's also fun. And so it's like, look, there are different ways for you to look at the gambling world. How deep you may be entrenched in the film could be how deep mentally that you are entrenched in the gambling world in the first place. Because if you can imagine it, it certainly can happen. And you may remember back in the day, a guy by the name of Bob Stupak here in Las Vegas. You could bet on just about anything with Bob Stupak.
I knew Bob Stupak very well, and he was one of the great characters. Stupak was amazing. I mean, he finally finished his tower there.
Yeah, and what I love about the idea of 7 Days to Vegas, it's something that people can really identify with. That's why I mentioned the other film about the horse racing and stuff, because it's something that if you go to the track, you absolutely understand every superstition, everything that could possibly happen. People saying, and I remember this with my dad. I'd go and sit in the clubhouse section over at Arlington Park over in suburban Chicago, and we would spend he'd spend a couple extra bucks bringing me into there. And he would always look up to see if a pigeon was overhead, because if a pigeon pooped on you, it was allegedly good luck, if you know what I mean.
Hey, my father taught us that too. Of course, the pigeon. That would be great luck. Fantastic. By the way, 7 Days to Vegas also, these guys are not just straightforward betting. There's a lot of hustle and con in them too, and you'll find out as it goes along. A lot of twists and turns. And I like that kind of picture too, because if you're around the gambling world for a long time, you've been conned. I've been conned. I've seen cons. I've seen the hustlers. And eventually you get smart. It takes a few years, and you're lucky if you walk away with your money. But so that's in the movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, for the people that come here to Las Vegas and they're like, wow, look how pretty it is. Look, boy, I can win $1 million. Well, guess what? These lights burn really bright here on purpose, especially those behind me here. They burn real bright because people come here with these mad dreams of making millions of dollars. And at the end of the day, well, they lose a little bit of money, but they have to remember it's for entertainment purposes only. You know what I mean? Absolutely. It really is for entertainment purposes. And I always tell people, look, pick up one of your $25 chips, your $5 chips, whatever, your $100 checks. Pick one of those chips up. Take a look at it. Look at it, front and back and side, whatever. And just remember, folks, it is plastic over clay. That's it. It's plastic over clay. It's make-believe money. That's it. But it does have value in the casino for sure. But at the end of the day, it's just make-believe money. And hopefully you end up with more of those after you play your games or whatnot than when it's time to leave.
Well, I'll make the argument that even the green stuff is make-believe money.
I gotcha. That's the great thing about poker and the World Poker Tour and playing poker is that it's the one gambling game that you can actually beat. If you're smart and you play with the right bunch of people, you actually have a percentage. You're gonna win money. You can walk away and win money. The problem is, as a good poker player, you can make money, but then if you have other leaks, as you know, you're betting football and you're going to the bars and you're partying too much, you're going to blow your money in Vegas. So, but poker, that's why it's become the big thing, because people actually can make a living and they can do well in poker if they're good enough and they're smart enough.
But see, I'm a dice player, Vince. And by the way, folks, we're here with Vince Van Patton, great poker player, host of the World Poker Tour, obviously an actor, a very good actor, and a tremendous tennis player as well. So, Vince, I am a craps player. I like the dice because I can manipulate the dice. I love probability, and I understand the game really well. I even gave a speech in my professional speaking class back in undergraduate studies on how to play craps. That was ridiculous. And, I actually got a low grade on it because I went over the time limit. It was supposed to be 7 minutes, and I drew the whole board out on the whiteboard and so forth. and I had so much information. I know every darn bet you could make on the table and so forth. There were so many questions. I had 30 minutes of questions after doing the speech for 7 minutes. I ended up getting a C on that only because I went over the allotted time of 7 minutes. Yeah. Figure that one out.
Hey, I love to play dice. I don't play as often. I'm not a very good dice player, but I mean, I'm so bad. I go with the theory of I look at the guys, I see who's throwing, and if I see
you looks like a shooter. It sounds like my dad.
There you go. I mean, I'm one of them. And I see some woman that's never thrown the dice before, and sure enough, if you go with her, there's something magical about it. She usually does well. And there's certain guys, like, if I throw the dice, I'm lousy. Just bet against me. Don't pass.
I run away from the people that snap their fingers after when the dice are about to turn. I'll bet against them all day, every day. Let's talk a little bit more about that and some other superstitions in betting when we come back here with Vince Van Patton. Folks, don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. This is fun stuff. Back in a minute on the Circus.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Don't wait. Call right now. 888-794-1630. 888-794-1630. Write it down. 888-794-1630. Again, for the last time, 888-794-1630.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
You're watching the Sports Circus, and I am Brian Urlacher.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from the AMP.TV studios here in fabulous Las Vegas. That's AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, our podcast, and also check out our partners as well. Fantastic charities that are represented, some great causes represented as well. Even the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Folks, check them out at csncoyotes.com. csncoyotes.com for upcoming baseball games, softball games, special events, nationally ranked in baseball every year. Really good stuff. Check them out. I got to tell you, folks, if you want some great entertainment and great sports and probably the best academic institution in the greater Vegas Valley, guess what? It is, in my opinion, the College of Southern Nevada. And welcome back to everybody listening in on iHeart, Spotify, and our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, as well as everybody watching on Hotel Television and AMP TV, AAMP.TV. Here with Vince Van Patton. And Vince is a very interesting guy. He is the host of the World Poker Tour, also an actor, also a supersonic tennis player, beat McEnroe a couple of times, by the way. And also, Vince, I know you like to gamble on things. Let me ask you a little bit about the craps table. There's some funny stories. I have to say, before you answer the question, do you believe that the most superstitious gambling event in the history of the gambling world is the crap table?
Oh, that's a great question. I think you might be right. It might have to be right up there because it brings out the worst in you if you're superstitious. I know you love to play. I used to like to play. I'm a bad roller, so I pass it and I let someone else roll. And I usually like to look for the lucky girl that looks like she's going to be lucky, or some guy that's kind of smiling nicely and kind of goofy. He'll roll some good dice probably, so I'll bet on him. But here's what I don't like about the craps games anymore. They used to 20, 30 years ago. You could take those dice in your hand, you could roll them around, you could pick them, you could actually blow on them, right? And then you would chuck them hard, and it would be a lot of fun. And they didn't say anything up until about 20 years ago. And then all of a sudden they got real tight. Now, I understand why. There's a lot of, stuff going on. Replace a dice when you're blowing in and blah, blah, blah. But now they got you so restricted. They got you just in one hand. You used to be two. Now you got one hand. Now you're throwing it with one hand. It's kind of stiff. And so my throwing abilities are out the table. So I don't like to roll anymore. Also, you're in a little too crowded in there. There's too many people. You're in a little tight. And the croupiers always look a little too happy for taking your money. That's all I got to say.
Well, it depends on which place you're playing at. I mean, if you're out here in Vegas and you're playing at certain casinos, well, let's put it this way: the temperature's a little cooler in there, and if it's not, they'll bring the cooler in, which is the box man. They'll change the box man right in the middle of the roll too, or they'll change a stick man.
I know, but there is nothing more exciting than when you hear the roar at the crap table. Someone's rolling 10 passes in a row, and he's got his whole crew around there, and it's stacked, and they're making money. I mean, that is exciting. You just want to get around that and make some bets. So I'll give it that. I'll give that to you.
It's very exciting, but the one thing as a player, I always hated, and listen, I started playing, my first time that I ever played in any casino, right here over my shoulder at Caesar's Palace. I was 15 years old. My old man brought me in there. I had the peach fuzz growing. I mean, it was really funny. And so I had that growing. And the guy looks at me and goes, "You're not old enough to be in." And my old man says, "Let him play." I mean, this is back in the early 1980s. And things were a little bit different then. But I have to tell you, the things around the dice table that I've seen in the years and years, I played the games in the neighborhood just like you'd see in some of those old films, right? And so we played in the neighborhood. That was one thing. But when you play at the casino, it's a different environment. And one of those things that you think about from the superstition standpoint, outside of changing the stick man, changing the guy sitting at the table, or the box man, or bringing in the rack of chips, it's the cocktail waitress. And it seems like whenever you're in the middle of a roll, I don't know what it is. It's the craziest superstition of all time. You're in the middle of a roll. You're having a really good roll. And then you hear cocktails, boom, 7 out. And it turns out to be the most expensive drink that you bought all day.
I know, and you'll never get the drink. I mean, because they're just doing that to break the momentum, and then they're gone, and then you lose your money, and you don't even get your drink. You have to walk away. But how about when you throw the dice, and some sucker or you dice, and one of the dice goes off the table? You know you're done.
Yeah.
That next roll, you're done. You're going to lose.
That's hilarious. And the superstitions are hilarious. See, for me, one of the ones that I look for, I would go for, and I still do this today. I will go, whenever I'm out looking at the dice tables, I will look for that person that throws them and snaps their finger right when the dice are about to turn. And I go out of my way, Vince, to bet against those people. One time in my life, only once in my life, I've ever seen a finger snapper win. Period. And that was back in about 1997 at the Frontier Hotel. Outside of that, man, I have never seen a finger snapper win throwing the dice. I always bet against them. When I hear them, I literally run to the table. I will run over there if I see them making the motion or if I can hear that snap, and I will empty my pocket to bet against them. It's absolutely hilarious.
You are so right. I hadn't seen it, but you're right. Anybody that does that is going to lose. He's a loser. But let me see what I was going to say.
It's amazing. I mean, it's uncanny how often it happens. It's like when you're at the dice table, if you see a 7, then another 7, and there's no rhyme or reason to this, but how many times do you see an ace deuce after 2 7s back to back? It's remarkably uncanny.
I know. It's crazy. Now, my father used to go to the racetrack, and he was as superstitious as they get. And he was a little nuts. And he would actually say, "Oh, look at Vincent." He goes, "There's an Asian over there. He's in the line. Stand right behind him and touch his sweater, and you'll get good luck." I know. These days you can't say that. I mean, it's like politically incorrect. But he was right. So I was, as a little kid, 20 years old, I'm running behind these people because I think they're good luck. And lo and behold, it seemed to bring me good luck. Then there was a guy at the racetrack my father used to call the kiss of death. He was the angel of death, and he wouldn't even bet. And he would go next to my father and mumble things. "Hello, Dick. It's good to see you, Dick. It's good to see you." And he'd mumble things, and my father goes, "Oh, no, don't get that guy." He would walk away from him because he knew if that guy was around him, he would lose that race. And sure enough, he would. So we hit the kiss of death at the racetrack. We had a lot of stupid superstitions, and still do.
Here with Vince Van Patten. Vince, I got to tell you, man, these stories can go on forever. And this reminds me of a character in A Bronx Tale called Eddie Mush. Remember Eddie Mush?
Yes, great scene. Get him in the bathroom. Get to the bathroom. Right, that scene?
Remember, he's like, "Come on, Kryptonite. Let's go, Kryptonite." Yeah. And he starts, and Sonny starts tearing the tickets up. That's Chaz Palminteri in the film. He starts tearing the tickets up and his horse is up by 10 lengths. But he knew Eddie Mush bet. He goes, "We've been mushed. We can't win."
Yeah. It's brilliant. I mean, because as a gambler, we know there's a lot of truth in this stuff. It's not just our imagination, or is it? But there's a lot of truth. So that's why when a movie comes along like that was a brilliant movie and showed that depiction of that life in the Bronx Tale, and the way for throwing dice and the kiss of death throwing the dice. They go, "Get him out of there. Put him in the bathroom. Put him in the bathroom." Right. I mean, that's just genius. And I got some of that in 7 Days to Vegas, my movie, and it's out around now. And there's a lot of fun things like that because I've lived it and I kind of know this stuff. So if you are a gambler and you love sports and things, I think you'll enjoy the movie.
So where can everybody download the film at?
Yes, it came out in theaters, and now it could be Amazon, iTunes, Spectrum, you name it. It's going to be everywhere. And it's 7 Days to Vegas with the 7 numerical first, and you can look it up, and you'll enjoy it. It's only 90 minutes long, but it is a slice of life of the gambling world, the ups and downs, and it rings pretty true. So I hope people see it. And great talking to you. You are the real thing.
Listen, man, this is a lot of fun. We still have a few minutes left. If you could take one part of your gambling background and do a reversal on it with, here's the older Vince talking to the younger Vince, what would you say to the younger Vince about something very specific that you have experienced that you didn't know when you were younger?
Okay. Don't bet the NFL.
Wait. What about this? Hold on, Vince. What about gambling in tennis?
Yeah. Well, I was professional. I was top 25 in the world. I played. I couldn't get a bet out there. The guys were too smart, and they didn't want to bet. But now, of course, started about 15 years ago. There's lines around internationally. I think tennis is the most bet among any sport in the world now, right up there with the NFL. But in the beginning, 15 years ago, as a handicapper and as a player, I was a very good handicapper. I would kill them. I mean, there'd be odds where you get one guy 5-1, and you knew it was a 50-50 bet, and so I did very well in the beginning for 2 or 3 years, and then they washed up. Then they must have gotten some really shrewd tennis players in there that just work for them, and the lines now are ridiculously tough, and the middle we're taking is insane. If you want Federer against so-and-so, it's 14-1, the other way 6-1. I mean, it's just stupid. So I don't bet tennis anymore, but I know a lot of people do.
All right, Sonar, any last questions?
It looks like such a great movie. Is it more about the adventure, or is it more about getting to actually Vegas?
It's about this ridiculous bet. Can the guy walk to Vegas in 7 days? Everything's stacked against him. Everyone's laughing at him. They're making side bets on the road. They're in this big RV behind him, and they're making ridiculous side bets behind him. And each one is conning each other on stupid things to make sure they can't make it. And then he's got his own bag of tricks and getting back at them. So it's the challenge, and can he do it? And it's almost impossible feat for this guy to do it. So 7 days to Vegas is the impossible feat. It's like The Hangover meets The Sting. And it's the real thing, and it's out there now. It's out there in the streaming world, and I hope people see it. Yeah.
All right, so Vince, how can everybody follow you as well? Outside of watching you on the World Poker Tour, how can people follow you on social media?
That's a good question. I'm on Twitter, Vince Van P. There's some stupid thing they gave me, Vince Van and then something P. And so, I talk a little bit on I tweet around a little bit. But basically speaking, World Poker Tour, we're throughout the year on Fox Sports 1, and it's on twice a week. And what else? What else have I been doing? Got the movie, and that's it. Just living life.
Just living life, man. You're living the dream. How many people actually get to live the kind of life that you've lived and you are living? I got to tell you, it's refreshing for everybody driving home from work right now. You got to remember here in the last 30 seconds, a lot of people will sit in their QBs and they'll be driving home, sitting in traffic, say, damn, I got to get out and do something exciting. Well, folks, go check out 7 days to Vegas. You want something interesting and exciting in your lives? Try this one on for size. Go check it out at Amazon and iTunes and so forth. Vince Fat Patton, great having you on the show today. Big round of applause. You're always welcome back here on the circus.
Enjoy talking to you. Thanks so much.
All right, Vince. We'll catch you next time around here on the circus. And folks, make sure you check out, of course, the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, and our podcast. Make sure you bookmark this one for today. This is a good show. Lots of fun. And we're even going to play this again. I'll tell you right now, we're going to play this one again in an encore performance down the road. Good stuff. Vince, thanks again for joining us. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.